The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5-College Credit Union, dedicated to creating access to financial well-being for local people, businesses, and communities. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith. Later in the show, we'll take a look back at 2025 with Salman, Hameed, Mr. Universe, for the stories from the cosmos that stuck with us this year. And we'll give you a place to convene, meet others, and create next year as we talk with organizer and founder Imani Wallace about the Black AF, Black Artistic Freedom Conference. But first, since it is the end of the year, lists are popping up everywhere, but the dictionaries of today don't really do that. They each have one word that they declare as their word of the year. For dictionary.com, it was 6-7. Yeah. For the Oxford Dictionary, it was rage bait. And for the top word of our local dictionary here in Springfield, Merriam-Webster, we turn to Word Nerd Emily Brewster. Monty, do you like eggnog?
I have only had the real deal eggnog one or two times, and I loved it. And then I like the stuff that you can get, especially like from the local makers.
The local ones are the best,
but
for sure.
I don't love it.
Okay.
It's good. Here's why I don't love it, because I know that I'm going to drink the shit out of it, and it's like so bad. So I get it one time a year when we're decorating the Christmas tree, and I put booze in it and cry listening to John Denver and the Muppets.
If you like, I do really need to drink through my eggnog base because I made a half a gallon of it and didn't mean to. And it's real easy once you have the base to make like proper eggnog, and it's definitely got booze in it.
Oh yeah, well I will drink it, like I said, but the problem is I drink it and then I'm like, I just added 7,000 extra calories that I probably didn't really need.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Usually we talk to the word nerd, Emily Brewster, resident wordster from Merriam-Webster, our dictionary in Springfield, on Wednesdays. But today is an important day in the world of Merriam-Webster. Today, it's like Christmas for dictionary nerds. It's the day.
Wait, wasn't Christmas for dictionary nerds when the new collegiate dictionary came out?
I guess there's two Christmases this year. Maybe it's Hanukkah for word nerds, because there'll be 8 different times that you can celebrate. And it is Hanukkah. Today is the day the Merriam-Webster Word of the Year has been announced. And humble brag, we're actually recording this on Friday, so we know before the rest of the world, but we have to wait to tell you until now when you're hearing this, which is Monday. Emily Brewster, before we get to what the word of the year is, 2025, can you remind us how Merriam-Webster selects the word of the year?
Yes, we pay close attention to what people are searching for on Merriam-Webster.com, which is a very useful website for all kinds of reasons, all kinds of word-related reasons. People look up words that they're not sure of the spelling of course, and they look up words that they want to keep straight, such as affect and effect, all for very good reason. But people also look up words that relate to circumstances and situations and events going on in the world around them.
It's like a barometer for what has gone on in that year, because things spike in certain times of the year, and then you can remember, oh yeah, that's why that would have spiked at that time.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So we choose our word of the year by looking at all the words that people have looked up more so than in previous years, and that are somehow tied to kind of the zeitgeist of the year itself.
Which is how, as we mentioned in a previous show, naked does not end up on this list.
Right.
Right.
Little kids might want to look up the word naked a million times, like we did in the good old-fashioned paper dictionary, and that would spike it. Before you reveal it, let us have a couple guesses as to what we think the word of the year might be. Do you have any guesses, Khalees?
No, I have no idea what happened this year. Honestly, I'm surprised that we're at this point in time.
It has been a blur.
Yes, this whole year has been just a whirlwind of a lot of things, and I'm surprised I remember either of our names at this point, so I have no real guess.
I have 2 guesses. One of them is bad, and the other one is worse. Is the Merriam-Webster word of the year, Emily Brewster, 6-7? That is my first guess.
No, it is not 6-7.
Is it? Well, no, it shouldn't be genocide. Hopefully it's not genocide.
That's your guess. Khalees makes a guess genocide, which is terrible and worse than 6-7 for sure.
It is also not genocide.
Here is my other even worse guess. Is it pedophile?
No, it is not pedophile either.
I guess, thank God.
But also, that means that people generally know what it means.
Yeah.
And why?
Right. And you could have the political sphere this, or even the Kendrick Lamar Drake sphere. That was a word that was many times used.
Say, Drake.
I hear you like I'm young.
Trying to strike a chord, and it's probably A minor.
Emily Brewster, without further ado, what is the 2025 Merriam-Webster Word of the Year?
The 2025 Merriam-Webster word of the year is slop.
Slop!
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it so much.
Khalees, I wonder if the prominence of slop, which the use that we define that's relevant here is digital content of low quality that is produced usually in quantity by means of artificial intelligence.
Wow.
And I wonder if the overwhelm that you feel, that inability to kind of zero in on things that happened in the past year, is something that many of us are suffering from because of so much slop.
Definitely is part of it. I mean, there's been studies about how these short entertainment things, especially like ads and especially AI generated ads, of which there are so many now, a genuinely frightening amount of AI generated ads, that encountering those in such density really does reduce your ability to retain any of the information. So, yeah, I believe it.
Well, it's interesting because last week Time Magazine listed the architects of AI as persons of the year, and now we've got this AI-adjacent word of the year from Merriam-Webster.
And again, every time we talk about AI, we should start mentioning that there are differences between the types of AI that are being used. Some have been used basically since the inception of the internet and modern computing. But when we're talking about the things that people get a little more up in arms about, and the thing that is creating this effect that we're currently talking about, is generative AI. And generative AI is the reason we have slop.
Tell us about more of the decision process going into choosing slop as Merriam-Webster's word of the year.
Well, Khalees is exactly right. That is the case here, right? Because we're talking about specifically all this content that is of such low quality and that is produced in such great effusion. I mean, we as always, we are able to filter out words that have been looked up. You know, there's a spreadsheet. Of course, there's a spreadsheet where we look at words that were looked up a lot in 2025, and then we can compare the words that were looked up a great deal to what the lookups were for those same words in 2024 and in 2023. And sometimes there's a kind of gradual increase that tells you something, and other times there's a dramatic increase. We don't want a word that necessarily had the most lookups or the greatest increase overall, but that only had that increase for a short period of time, because that can tell you something about a particular event in a year, but it isn't necessarily capturing a sense of something that was a continuing concern throughout the year.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what the word was, though, that had the most lookups, that if it were that kind of flash in the pan lookup, what it would have been?
I do, and it is on our list of words that we are also covering. But I'm sorry to say that I cannot say it.
Because it is a swear?
No.
Why?
No. Well, I'll try. I'll try to say it. It is Lake Chargagagog Manchagagog Bunga Gunga Mog.
Shabunagunga Bog, the lake in Webster, Massachusetts, not far from Merriam-Webster's dictionary, and us, the longest place name in the English language that has come over from, I believe, Nipmuc or some Algonquin language. I flipping love that. I wish that was the word of the year because of that. And what made it spike?
Well, it was very strange to start seeing this word on the homepage of Merriam-Webster.com in our top lookups. I saw it one day and thought, well, that's definitely not from Wordle. This is not, because sometimes those words are sometimes words that are in the New York Times games are in our top lookups.
Right.
This one definitely was not, because it has several more than 5 letters, and it kept appearing in the top lookups. It's like, is this, what is going on? Why is this word being looked up so much? It turns out that there is a Roblox game called Spelling Bee, and the lake's name can be encountered in 2 of the different modes of the game.
That is fun.
That is hilarious.
Years ago, I interviewed Colin Malloy, the lead singer of the Decemberists, who are often referred to as a hyper-literate band. And I was working at a radio station that was named after a body of water. So I tried to get him to do a station ID.
Does it get annoying that people are like, oh, the hyper-literate geek rock band? Or is that more of a compliment at this point?
I mean, it's just a word that people use to describe, to put kind of an easy shell around something. And, it's certainly maybe not a name that I would have come up myself.
Can you do a quick station ID for us?
Sure.
We named our radio station after a local body of water. So we're 93.9, the Lake Chagagagog, Monchagagog, Chugunagungabog.
Huh? I'm not going to say that.
I thought you were hyper-literate.
Also, since we're talking about the Decemberists, literally half of their songs are about water or drowning.
Yeah. Anyway, December is when the Merriam-Webster Word of the Year is announced, and it has just been announced today. And the word of the year is slop, which is kind of funny when you look at it in context, even recent context of the last, let's say, 10 words of the year. 2016, surreal. Wasn't it, though? 2017, feminism. 2018, justice. 2019, they, a single person whose gender is into that version of they. 2020, no question. That one, even I guessed this one right off the bat. Pandemic. 2021, vaccine. 2022, gaslighting.
Oh, right.
2023 was the one.
Authentic.
Authentic. And last year, 2024, polarization. Add to this list now, 2025, slop.
This particular definition of slop is relatively, the nature of it means that it's new, but I think even for your dictionary, it's a pretty new definition, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, the word slop, of course, we have defined for a very long time. The word originally, way back in the 1700s, just meant soft mud. But it was very clear as people were looking up slop that was not the sense that they were looking for.
I wonder how many more years we'll be able to consider it slop, because even in the short period of time of the words of the year that I just listed, AI has gone from being something that was clearly visible as AI to now getting a little bit spookier and spookier when it comes to the level of quality. I know that Disney has just released all of the likenesses of, say, Darth Vader to make available for creating your own AI.
Impressive.
Maybe to try to avoid some AI slop with some of their protected IP.
Most impressive.
But yeah, slop.
Very interesting.
I have such feelings about this whole thing.
I know. I think we need to maybe our 2026 goals, dig deeper into the world of AI and how it affects us locally here in the 413.
There's that really interesting thing of somebody trying to live just a weekend without AI.
Yeah.
And they couldn't at all. But part of that was, again, because of not differentiating between the types of AI you're trying to cut out. And cumulative AI, which is the stuff that basically data centers and search engines and when somebody's doing science and using AI for it, that's the stuff that does. That's more of what I want AI to do.
Yeah.
Solve cancer.
Yeah. They used AI to figure out a language of, I think, sperm whales.
Yep.
Dory. What are you doing? What are you doing?
And so that's really cool. There is some cool elements to it. That's not slop. Emily Brewster, what is Merriam-Webster's internal policy when it comes to AI? Do you use AI as a tool for creating the dictionary?
We do not. No, there is no AI involved in our defining. We do use a lot of electronic materials, though. We use corpora that have really good search capabilities. So corpora, again, being a collection of texts that give you a sense of use across a broad range of sources. But no, we don't use the AI for our definitions for writing our dictionaries.
But it was funny that in 2025, the year where the word of the year is slop, that Merriam-Webster released the new edition of the Collegiate Dictionary with an ad that's made to look like AI, saying that they had developed a new large language model that had over 217,000 rigorously defined parameters, that never hallucinates, uses no electricity, and that some people thought was actually AI that Merriam-Webster was using, but was really just a way to announce the new Collegiate Dictionary.
That's brilliant.
The new print dictionary.
Yeah.
Yes, never hallucinates.
Never loses power.
You might have a hard time reading it if you do, but
That's an outside source.
yeah.
I think it's interesting to think about there's a set of words that slop fits nicely in with. They've retained their more concrete meanings, words like slime and sludge and muck. There's like a kinship there in just the qualities of these words.
Fluish.
They're fun.
They all sound wet.
They're fun to say.
Yeah, they do all sound wet.
And it's like that scene where Princess Buttercup is getting heckled in her dream.
Bow to the queen of slime, the queen of filth, the queen of
putrescence.
Yeah. Okay. Emily Brewster, you're usually on our show on Wednesdays, but this is a special Monday edition because of the word of the year being announced to the world today, and the 2025 Merriam-Webster word of the year is slop. Will you join us as usual on Wednesday and give us some of the runners-up for word of the year? Because in some ways, these are as fun or more fun to me because they really diagram what went on in a calendar year linguistically.
Absolutely. I'd love to. Looking forward to it.
Yay. I'm going to cry. We'll remember some of our favorite cosmic moments with Mr. Universe, Salman Hameed, because we are also into lists on this show. But first, we'll help you explore your creative future with the Black Artistic Freedom Conference and its founder, Imani Wallace. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM. We will always come for you.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Hashi Pottery in 50 Arrow Gallery at Eastworks. Japanese-inspired ceramics and textiles, where every piece is handmade in the Pioneer Valley for home, ritual, or someone dear. HashiPottery.com. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Eastside Grill, celebrating 40 years in downtown Northampton, serving steaks, seafood, and American cuisine to the Pioneer Valley and beyond. Open for holiday lunch. EastSideGrill.com.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. What does it mean to heal through art? How do the conversations that scholars, creatives, and activists have through literacy, language, and unapologetic expression shape the culture that we live in? If we do not continue to incite the revolution now, then when?
If these questions are ones you're seeking answers to, this winter on the UMass campus, you can join other like-minded seekers at the 3rd Black Artistic Freedom Conference, or Black AF Conference, at UMass Amherst. The conference merges education and activism through the arts, presenting scholars and creatives the opportunity to connect, empower, and network across multidisciplinary fields while building the next generation of emerging freedom dreamers.
And with us to talk about the event, for which registration has just opened, is founder and organizer Imani J. Wallace, a.k.a. Lyrical Faith. Welcome back to the Fabulous 413.
Hi.
How is it going into the 3rd iteration of the Black AF Festival?
It is going wonderful, actually. We are really excited. We have a strong team this year. I have an awesome co-chair by the name of Arnold Lane. The committee is really excited this year, and we are looking forward to making this conference the biggest and the best yet.
It's going to be in February, but we're having you on now because last time we had you on, it was a little bit close to the actual event, and this is one of those register in advance type situations.
That is correct. So we have a one-day format this year, Saturday, February 21st, where we are jam-packing all of the action from around 9:30 a.m. to about 8 p.m. We will be having our Black AF Symposium, which will consist of arts, education, and activism sessions, panels, workshops, performances, and then a reception, a networking reception, and then our W.E.B. Du Bois National Poetry Slam Invitational, where spoken word artists from all across the country will be coming to compete for over $2,000 in cash prizes, and that will be from 5 to 8 p.m.
I know that you're currently putting the workshops and some of the more discourse-oriented things together, but talk about some of the offerings of the workshops in the past so people get an idea of what ends up happening at the Black AF conference.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the symposium portion of this event, essentially it consists of the workshops, panels, and discussions, as well as just these curated speakers and whatnot, a keynote, breakfast, and lunch. And so what ends up happening is we imply that there are 3 tracks that one could follow going throughout the conference day. One would be the education track, one would be the activist track, one would be the artist track. And on those tracks, essentially, there are different sessions that essentially fall into each of those categories. And so as one goes throughout the day, they can choose to mix and match all three. They can choose to follow just one if they are most interested in leaning into the educational portions or the artistry portions or the activist portions, or they can just do whatever combination they feel best serves them. But yeah, we are having speakers coming from across the country, and they are talking about healing through the arts. They're talking about centering Black voices. They're talking about, I think there's a really cool one where they're talking about anime, and there's, some visual art. There's also, performance art. There's hip hop. There's spoken word. There's something around dance. We are pretty much throwing a lot of these ideals in the pot and seeing what is the best combination for our community to engage in. The lineup for speakers this year, we already chose them. We are kind of just confirming things around our schedule, but it's going to be a great time, and I'm very excited.
We're speaking with Imani Wallace, a.k.a. Lyrical Faith, about the Black AF Conference. It'll happen at UMass Amherst, the Black Artistic Freedom Conference. It's happening in February, but registration is happening now, and it does tend to fill up, so we're trying to get you on this a little bit early. There was like an official theme last year, hip-hop praxis from the classes to the world. Does this year's have a theme as of yet?
Absolutely. So we do have a theme this year. And so this year, the theme is hip hop as the revolution to incite critical conversations and the resistance to conform. And so in our call for proposals this year, there was a lot of discussion around what that means. It's modeled actually after a song by Kendrick Lamar called TV Off, right? So the theme is TV Off, hip hop as the revolution for critical conversations and resistance to conform. And
I think everything you'll be serving at the breakfast includes mustard.
Indeed. Yeah. So we have a really great DJ who goes by the name of DJ Faro, otherwise known as Dr. Justin Lopez. He actually recently got his doctorate from Harvard and will be joining us. And so our music selection is going to be on point. But yeah, I think that this year's theme will speak to a broadly defined how are we discussing art as activism and art as education. And so how all of those things combine and intersect.
I feel like maybe for our audience, this is not necessarily the case, but on a broader scale, some people may not necessarily see how hip hop and political movements are very tied together. Can you talk a little bit about that and why it's important to a conference of this nature that has artistic freedom in its title?
I'm so glad that you asked that. So my research agenda actually speaks to this as well. So I'm actually a fifth-year PhD candidate in the social justice education program here at UMass Amherst. And within my research work, I do look at hip hop literacies, and in particular how spoken word is a critical literacy of hip hop education. And then furthering that, I look at how Black youth and Black communities are utilizing spoken word as a vehicle for activism. And so how does hip hop intersect with social movements or social justice? I mean, my question would be, how does it not, right? In every major social and political movement throughout time, there's always a cultural and artistic arm that is associated with that, because that is how the people are speaking back. That is how the people are congregating and utilizing their voice to discuss and be a griot of the times, to challenge critical narratives and to challenge dominant narratives. Protest and the people's voices are kind of what shapes culture and can what ultimately influence policy, influence decisions that are made in the world, right? In law, in our government. And so when we utilize art as a vehicle for social justice and social movements, right? Art is the cultural movement that accompanies any political movement or any political actions that are taking place in the world, right? And as we know, education, in the world of education, particularly at universities and whatnot, are microcosms of what is just going on in our larger society, right? And so universities, as we've seen in this year alone, are very affected, heavily affected by many of the policies and decisions that are being made in legislation. And so it is affecting us from every which way, right? And so through art, right? Through using our voices, through hip hop, through spoken word, through song, dance, however it is that you are expressing yourself, storytelling, etc. It is a way to kind of speak up and speak out about what is going on and document the times.
More coming up with Imani Wallace, co-producer of the Black Artistic Freedom Conference at UMass, as we discover its origins, hear about the importance of its closing slam event, and how you can attend and support the endeavor. After which, we'll get a retrospective of 2025 with Mr. Universe Salman Hameed to revisit some of the more memorable space and earthly moments of the year. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
We're talking about the Black AF Conference, the Black Artistic Freedom Conference, which is happening in February 21st of 2026, but registration is required and it's open now. We're talking with the founder, Imani Wallace, Lyrical Faith. I don't think you're able to tell us anybody who's officially on board yet, or can you?
That is a great question.
You can say no. Well, here's this. What about we make a rain check to have you on closer to the actual event to fill up whatever those final spaces may be, and maybe we have one of the folks that you have on the docket come on the show as well.
I would love that. I'll be able to more freely tell you about the surprises that we are expecting at Black AF Conference this year, because there will surely be surprises. And we are excited for the people that will be able to experience this. By the way, they'll be able to experience it free.
Excellent. I love that.
I know this is the third time that the Black AF Conference has happened, but why did you start this?
Yeah, I love that question. Thank you for asking. So Black AF Conference was a passion project of mine. It was truly just a dream that I had, and just thinking about how I want to kind of shape my voice in the work that I'm doing within my research in a way that is accessible and open for people to engage in. Going back just a little bit into my background, I am from New York City, born and raised, specifically from the Bronx, New York, specifically from the block that hip hop was founded on, uptown Cedric Avenue. So with Black AF Conference and growing up, right, hip hop was a huge influence in my life. The arts were a huge influence. And so I actually was a part of a youth poetry program known as Urban Word NYC. It's the premier youth poetry program in New York. And through this program, I attended a conference, and it was known as the Preemptive Education Conference. And this conference brought together the academy with, hip hop pedagogy and poetry in a way that I had not seen before. And it was just really impressionable on me. I've gone to that conference 3 years in a row until it eventually phased out. And so with that huge impact on my life, it was something that influenced me to pursue my PhD. It was something that influenced me to kind of, take a more authoritative voice when it came to me pursuing my artistry in a more confident manner. And so I think that preemptive ed had a huge impact on the seeds that grew into what I have cultivated as what Black AF Conference is here in the New England area. And so I really just wanted other people to experience that impact. I'm a huge person on mentorship. I'm a huge person on exposure and what it means to cultivate activism through the arts, how people can experience that, how people can realize that all of these things work together, and they work together in a manner that empower the people, empower marginalized voices. And so Black AF Conference is just an iteration of that. Like, how do we empower marginalized voices through the arts?
How has working on the Black AF Conference shaped your research and your spoken word work?
Ooh, that's a great one. So Black AF Conference has really shaped and influenced my work because as a researcher, everything that we do with Black AF Conference is aligned in some manner to the research that we are producing out of the Center of Racial Justice and Youth Engaged Research. So I'm actually sitting here in the center right now. It's the center that I am a graduate employee of, and I am on a team called the Black Healing, Joy, and Justice team. And so that team is out of the CRJ, and that is the team that essentially spearheads the Black AF Conference. And so at the center, right, when we do youth engaged research, we do work on projects that ultimately allow for us to connect with the community and connect with youth in a manner that is impactful and engaging, and then allow for us to produce research, allow for us to write about this work in research publications. And so that is something that I'm actually in the process of working on now when it comes to Black AF Conference, how the impact that I've been able to make on the youth board and the members of the youth community that come out to Black AF Conference, and being able to interview them and engage with them on their experiences and how inspired and motivated they are by this conference and the work that we've done with them. And then kind of going into like how I'm now translating that into the stories that we are telling around the research that is developing out of this center and then being put out into the world. So I would definitely say that it has supported and shaped my scholarly voice and developed my scholarly voice in many impactful ways. And that's just one of them, right? Being able to produce an actual research publication on how Black AF Conference has done some amazing impact and work on the youth in this world.
You mentioned that working with the youth, and the conference this year is going to end with the Slam. Talk about the Slam and how impactful that is to the folks that come and participate.
Oh, the Slam is always a good time. That is my favorite part. As some of you know, I'm a spoken word poet, international award-winning spoken word poet, and I have been slamming for over 10 years. And I've gotten to slam on the local scene, the national scene. I've done international slams. And so this slam always tends to blow the minds of everyone in the audience. If for whatever reason you're out there and you are on the fence about coming to Black AF Conference, for whatever reason, and you're like, hey, I have something to do during the day. If you are available for the evening portion, please still come, because you will be blown away for the W.E.B. Du Bois Poetry Slam. Shout out to the W.E.B. Du Bois Center. That is the center here on campus that is dedicated to research and events and initiatives that reflect the life and legacy of one of the greatest scholars of all time, W.E.B. Du Bois. And so it was a collaboration with them, us ultimately, right? I'm the inaugural poet in residence at the W.E.B. Du Bois Center. We wanted to do something that lived out Du Bois's name in the ways in which poetry and storytelling can do, right? Because Du Bois himself was a poet. This poetry slam, I mean, people in this area have not seen much like it, right? Because these are artists that I invite from all over the country. We have artists coming from Detroit, artists coming from DC, artists coming from Baltimore, New York, New Jersey, and it is going to be a great time. These are people who have been on national stages, who have multiple accolades, books, who have won multiple awards, and they are competing against each other. And it's a real serious sport. And we're competing against each other to win some cash money prizes. And so I'm very excited because ultimately, I've taught classes and I've had them come to this particular event before. I've interacted with just other people around campus around this event before. And each and every time they are telling me about how they've never seen anything like this, and that, being exposed to this spoken word at this level, right, is something that is unique, and they are excited to be there. The energy in the room is just electric. Like, we can't explain it. You just have to be there to see.
It's the Black AF Conference. It's happening February 21st at UMass College of Education, and we have been joined by the founder, Imani Wallace, a.k.a. Lyrical Faith. Registration is required, although it's free, but register early.
The link specifically is bit.ly/Black AF 2026 RSVP. That's in all capitals. So Black AF 2026 RSVP. That is the link to register. Registration does close on February 8th. And I will also say this, it is free, and we would like for it to remain free and open to the public, but we can only do that through the support of dedicated sponsors and donations that are 501c3 tax deductible donations. And so as much as we are getting people to register, there's also a portion that asks people, if you feel led in your heart to sponsor someone else or to sponsor a donation, for someone's seat, then we are asking for donations at this time to
Paying
kind of
it forward.
to help move everything forward. So registration is open now, but there is a portion where donations are definitely welcomed.
Thank you so much.
Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you as well.
Turn his TV off. Turn his TV off.
You can also find out more about the Black Artistic Freedom Conference by heading to the UMass website and searching for Black AF or Black Artistic Freedom, and all the information pops up there too. Now, how did the skies fare this year? We'll take a look back at the science that stuck with us in 2025 with Mr. Universe, Salman Hameed. You're listening to The Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Comfort Bagel, scratch-made artisan sourdough bagels, spreads, and sandwiches for breakfast or lunch on Main Street in Westfield and at their new location in Holyoke at 92 Race Street. ComfortBagel.com. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar in Hatfield, offering personalized solar energy solutions and ongoing customer care, proudly serving communities throughout the Pioneer Valley. Northeast-solar.com.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Time for our last kitchen table astronomy session with Hampshire College astronomer Dr. Salman Hameed, Mr. Universe from Kainaat Studios of 2025. We will continue this in 2026. And it was a rough weekend on so many different levels with what happened at Brown University and what happened in Australia and what happened with the Rhiners. Oh, shocking. So we're going to give people a little positive oasis of some of the more exciting and positive stories that ground us in the fact that we are but a grain of sand in a giant beach that is the universe. What are some of the stories that you want to talk about from 2025?
Well, first of all, I want to mention that if people want to hear astronomy on tap, there is an event tomorrow, Tuesday evening at New City Brewery in East Hampton. This is an informal gathering. There'll be 2 talks. One of them is by Peter Hartman about the eternal question, where is that thing? So if you want to know how astronomers figure that out. So
how far away things are in the sky.
Or where they are located.
Yeah.
I'm giving another talk, and the other talk is about who owns the moon. Is it Elon Musk? Is it Bezos? Is it US? Is it China?
Is it Laurie Anderson? Who also brings up this fabulous question at an installation at Mass MoCA that I have pitched many times when Laurie Anderson's around, that we would love to go there with her. I idolize her, but that particular virtual reality exhibit is a great piece of art.
It's incredible. That was going to be my end of my talk, is going to be, yes, it is Laurie Anderson that owns the moon.
So that's some exciting future astronomy stories.
Yes, and it's from 7 to 9 at New City Brewery. So come over there. We'll have fun.
Maybe I'll come after Kung Fu.
Yes. But I thought, let's talk about this year. In forms of questions that I had, these may not be considered as globally as the biggest astronomy stories, but certainly here on Fabulous 413, these are the most fabulous stories of 2025.
Yes.
And so my first question related to that was, is there an official 413 galaxy?
There is now. Yes. If you remember back to April 13th, when we had the first ever Fabulous 413 NEPM 413 day, you gifted us.
Yes, and that is NGC 413. And this is a galaxy which is located about close to around 200 million light years away. Just the perfect distance, I would say.
Yeah, because by the time they realize that we own them, we'll be long gone.
Or who owns this galaxy? Yeah, that will be another talk, we'll give. And so this galaxy, interestingly, it's actually visible these days, but it's very faint. You will need a telescope. But it's a faint galaxy. In fact, this is how it was described. It is extremely faint, pretty small, very little extended. And I was
just thinking, like the show.
Just like 413. And it's a spiral galaxy. So I was like, we spiral here, both in and out of insanity. And so this is actually a good galaxy. So yes, so the question, is there an official 413, Fabulous 413 galaxy? And it is NGC 413, New General Catalog Galaxy number 413.
We love that. And again, it's not really official because the International Star Registry is a scam. Don't buy a star. Although I have been, one of my favorite astronomy things in science fiction that I've been reading is the 3-Body Problem book series, and the gifting of actual stars with meaning something is a big part of that book series. So we love that galaxy more than others here in the 413.
Okay, let's put it this way. We are in the United States here. The next question actually is going to be related to that, but what I was going to say was just because because officially something is not given to us does not mean we cannot take it.
Oh, yes.
And so
Don't we know
NGC
it?
413 is our official galaxy.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, second question. So this is, again, as I said, a little bit related to it. And the question was, can a superpower, a country that has been a superpower, shoot itself in its foot? First of all, the good question is, do countries have feet?
Yeah.
And I don't know. But it can still, even without feet, it can still certainly shoot itself in the foot by, for example, canceling a lot of the programs, a lot of the telescopes that are planning on going up. Also cutting down a major fraction of its aid. So, for example, NASA's funding cut by close to about 25%, but the science part of its funding cut by close to around 50%. A lot of the NASA employees losing about 2,000 high-level employees, and overall losing 1/5 of its workforce. And also to eliminate its DEI, the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Office of NASA, modifying the website dedicated to the telescope, Vera Rubin telescope, which just actually opened. Its official website had things about Vera Rubin, the astronomer, the legendary astronomer, talking about the struggle she had as a woman in the field of astronomy to modify that website to that level. I think the answer is yes. A country can shoot itself in the foot.
Well, we know our vice president, who is now deceased, can shoot his friend in the face. So I do think that the country could shoot itself in the foot. And with NASA being such a global brand, you see people wearing NASA merch all over the world because what NASA has meant to science and exploration has been inspirational. And
Right.
to cut it for no reason other than big cuts are what we do unilaterally, maybe we did shoot ourselves in the foot.
And a lot of the prominent scientists come from diverse backgrounds. And there are a lot of people that actually have been underserved here in the US, which need encouragement, diversity, and things like that. To actually remove that, it's just bizarre and it's terrible. But I think the shooting in the foot is being continued because you can also see that not just in astronomy, but of course, RFK Jr., for example, is what he's doing in terms of the vaccine, removing the vaccine mandates and things like that. So that is happening, but I think it is connected not too far from people like Avi Loeb. And we always have to say the Harvard astronomer, right? Because, we always have to bring up that. Because there is a larger level of trust in science that gets eroded with that. So that's what RFK Jr. has done. Forget about COVID. I mean, we're talking about measles because there has been a recent outbreak in, I think, South Carolina right now. But right now, you would not know if there is a recommendation that comes out from the Federal Health Services, whether you should trust it or not, because of the rhetoric that has come from RFK Jr. and the kind of people that he has put on panels. You don't know what to think. So it's not that, you have suddenly become irrational or people around you, but what can you trust? I think it removes that, which in the age of disinformation, which we do live in, it really damages that. And I think in the same way, I think because we want to stay close to astronomy, Avi Loeb's claims about, for example, this interstellar visitor, the comet that is coming in, to call that sort of like an alien spacecraft, even though almost all scientists, and especially all scientists who work on that comet actually say, no, it's just a comet, but it undermines the way science is done. Claims like this from people like Avi Loeb actually overall damages the way people think about science, the way science is done, the way we build trust in science. Not that science is always correct, no, but there are ways in which expertise does matter. But both RFK Jr. and Avi Loeb are undermining that, and that will have long-term consequences, and the US should look at its foot. All right, so I think one of the most fascinating things was, what came first, a black hole or a star? And this is the question that astronomers have been grappling with about sort of like, that supermassive black holes, which exist almost in all galaxies, although recently there have been coming up that not all galaxies, but certainly in most large galaxies, the centers are populated by these supermassive black holes, much bigger, sort of like, about a few million to a billion times the mass of our sun. And so the big question was, did the stars first formed and the center collapsed to form a supermassive black hole, or the black holes came first and around it the galaxy formed? And that's a fascinating question. It looks like, and especially this year, there are strong hints that probably the black hole came first. James Webb Space Telescope detected these little red dots. These are galaxies that are very small, and they are some of the earliest objects in the universe, and we don't know exactly what is their nature. And it looks like those are some of those things where the supermassive black hole is outshining the full galaxy, and it's much bigger relative to the size of the galaxy, and so that might be the answer.
Now if we can only figure out what came first, the chicken or the egg, that's not astronomers' problem.
Yeah, that is correct. I was thinking about, I think it is the chicken, but no, I'm not going to take sides on that. Okay, now let's come close to us, and I think one of the questions is when planets form. We are finding there are over 6,000 exoplanets have been discovered. And one of the big questions in astronomy is that do planets, where we find them, do they form there or do they migrate? As an immigrant myself, I was like, hey, migration isn't bad. But that's a big question, because if planets migrate, so for example, some of the earliest exoplanets that were discovered, that was really surprising, because you had large Jupiter-sized planets orbiting its star very close distance, like their orbit would take a few days. Mm-hmm. And that was extremely surprising, because we have a very good theory of solar system formation, but which says that Jupiter-like planets would be formed a little bit farther away. And so how do you bring them closer? Well, they migrate, right? And so then there is a whole thing comes in that if they migrate, what happens, how there are perturbations, does it disturb the other orbits, and so on and so forth. So we know that at least some planets, in some solar systems, planets do migrate. We know that. But do they always migrate? And we talked about a protoplanetary system called WISPIT 2b. We actually talked about it recently, where astronomers found a protoplanetary disk. So this is the material around a star, very young star, a few million years old. And this is one of those cases where it's so young that the disk has not been cleared out by the planet. They had never found a case where the planet is in the process of clearing out the disk, and you still have basically the disk around on both sides of this new planet, meaning it is like a ring. And this is exactly what astronomers found in WISPIT 2b. They found a gap in the protoplanetary disk, and they suspected, there must be a planet inside. And then they used telescopes to actually look inside the gap, and they found a protoplanet.
We were saying it's like a sonogram. When there is a fetus in utero, you get to see this development, and this is something scientists hadn't seen until this year.
Some people call it sort of like the missing link. But importantly, this shows that, the planet actually formed in the place where it is forming, because it just cleared out the material in a ring shape in the protoplanetary disk. And this is the type of evidence that tells you, at least in some cases, planets are there where they formed. They did not migrate. Monty, that's you.
I didn't migrate. My grandparents did.
So this is again piecing together evidence to actually lead to our understanding of how planets formed and potentially how our own solar system formed.
Nice.
And within that, I think one of the most exciting discoveries of this year, we also talked about it recently, but how did life start here on Earth? Did it start through the RNA, the ribonucleic acid, which we think sort of like, DNA is the main molecule, but RNA is also helpful, but we think that maybe life may have started through RNA, or people suggested, maybe the metabolism came first, and first the DNA came and then the RNA. Well, those are unsolved questions. One of the biggest questions. We don't exactly know how life started here on Earth, but the recent results regarding the samples that were brought by NASA's mission OSIRIS-REx from the asteroid Bennu, it brought back samples, and what it showed was that, first of all of the nucleobases that are part of both the DNA and the RNA, so A, T, C, G, and U, these are the links that connect the DNA and the RNA molecules. All 5 of those are available or are detected in this sample. You also have 14 of the 20 amino acids that life uses. Scientists recently announced the discovery of glucose that provides energy, and ribose. And ribose is, again, the key thing for ribonucleic acid, RNA, and the detection of RNA and a non-detection of deoxyribose, so this is the DNA part, the D part of that, suggests that perhaps possibly life may have started through the RNA. This is called the RNA world hypothesis, rather than through metabolism.
So another chicken and egg story, but this one is an RNA egg and a DNA chicken, or an RNA chicken and a DNA egg, depending on where you fall on the chicken egg.
And we still don't know whether that is true or not. But this, again, what I'm trying to emphasize here is sort of like, is the process by which scientists try to find answers. It's not just one aha. So these were the key science things that I wanted to mention. Then the biggest question, the most important question, I left it to the end. And that is, what was the best astronomy song of the year?
Oh.
And I have to say, Josh Ritter, who's a wonderful songwriter, and he has been here. He's going to be back again in February at Iron Horse, and I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
And his song, Truth is a Dimension, both invisible and blinding.
I love it.
It's a lovely song. It is so beautiful, both in terms of thinking in the context of science, of why we do science, and the love of the sky and the night sky and things like that, but also love in general. I will just quote one couplet from it. I was filled with revelation, both infinite and finite, that filtered down the telescope, encoded in the starlight. It's just a lovely song, and I think there is no astronomy song better than Josh Ritter's Truth is a Dimension, both invisible and blind.
Happy New Year, Salman Hameed.
Happy New Year to you.
So I went ahead and wrote this to alert you to my findings. I call it Truth is a Dimension, both invisible and blinding.
That show at the Iron Horse is going to be pretty cool. We might talk about that later. But on the next Fabulous 413, we'll meet a group that's been bringing harmonies from the South to audiences all around the globe when we meet Ricky McKinstry of the Blind Boys of Alabama before they take stage at the Hope Center for the Arts this Saturday. It is incredible getting a slice of history from that gentleman. And we'll saunter down to Ludlow to meet the fourth generation of a 5-generation farm who are stewarding so much more than the land and their head of cattle. One other farm that has converted from dairy to beef, but it's delicious in the change. We'll speak with Bud Ellison of Ellison Farm about connecting his farm with community and more, because their approach is pretty special. I'm Khalees Smith. We'll talk with you tomorrow on the Fabulous 413.